G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/EntitledParents video. Now if you love me as much as I love you, you'd head on down to one of my new playlists down below and also smash that like button. Now, with that out of the way, I want you to sit back, relax, chug another prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some good content. Now our first story comes from user Fabulous Lil Queen, titled, Entitled Aunt Freaks Out When I Get a Purple Cast for My Broken Arm. I'm back, y'all. Sorry if there's any errors. I'm typing this story with some hella long fake nails on, so, bear with me. Anyways, I have a bit of free time, so I figured I'd tell you lovely people another story about my entitled aunt. Spoiler, she's a tramp in this one too. Now, onto the story. I broke my arm when I was around 10. Myself and a group of friends had been playing at the swing park, and I fell off the climbing frame. The first thing I felt was an immense pain in my arm. It was so bad that I actually felt sick from the pain. My friends, understandably, freaked out and ran off in search of an adult, whilst a couple of them stayed with me in case my arm fell off, whilst they were gone. This is a terrifying situation when you're 10. Eventually, my friends came back with one of their dads. He quickly checked my arm over and was around 80% sure that it was broken. He offered to drive me home and would tell me jokes in an attempt to cheer me up. He succeeded in making my friends cringe at the dad jokes, and I felt myself relax a little. I was still in immense pain, but I wasn't worried about my arm falling off anymore. Eventually, we got to my house and my friend's dad explained to my mum what happened. He's such a great guy. He even offered to take my mum and I to the hospital. My mum politely declined because the guy had to go to his work and she didn't want him getting into trouble. Once he'd left, my mum asked me all the usual worried parent questions. What happened? Where does it hurt? Do you feel sick? Etc. She then called my nice aunt to see if she could drop us off at the hospital. She was working though, and even though she told my mum she was leaving work ASAP, she would still take about an hour and a half to get to our house, because of how far away our work was. That left only one option. Entitled aunt. Brilliant. Surprisingly, she did actually seem somewhat worried when my mum told her what happened, and she got to our house within 15 minutes. Entitled cousin was staying with her dad overnight, so she didn't come with us. Hell, she even brought me sweets to cheer me up. It honestly felt like I was in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Everything is going about as well as it could with my arm in a massive amount of pain. We get to the hospital, give the hospital all the required information, and head to my waiting room for what expected to be a very long wait. The hospital is hella busy. My mum takes me towards the children's waiting area so I could play with the toys whilst I waited, entitled aunt following behind. I settled for playing with one of the plastic trucks so that I didn't have to move my broken arm. Everything was fine until a little girl, around 6 or 7ish, asked me if I wanted to play kitchens with her, which I immediately said yes to. She set out some plastic cups for a tea party and we played quite happily, until entitled aunt decides to intervene like the interfering biatch that she is. She's like, "What are you doing, sweetheart?" Me, playing kitchens with Sarah? I don't know, I just figured she needed a name. Entitled aunt, "I thought you were playing with the trucks. Why don't you go get one of them? They're so cool." But me and Sarah are playing. "OP, little boys don't play kitchens. That's for little girls." But uncle, my mum's brother, is a cook and he's a boy. But he's a homophobic slur. You don't want to be one of those, do you? Entitled auntie, he's playing with that little girl. Leave him alone. You really don't think it's weird? Mum, getting pretty impatient. No, I don't. Now either leave the little ones alone, or you can head home. Entitled aunt rolls her eyes at the pet name. My mum, even now, likes using pet names for me. She has a lot of anxiety around making sure that I know she loves me and cares about me, but she went back to my mum and sat down. Sarah and I talked and played for a bit. She asked me about my arm, and I told her what happened. I found out through our talks that she had gotten her ears pierced, but the company hadn't cleaned the equipment properly, which had led her to her right ear being infected, despite her mother cleaning it thoroughly every day. She went on to tell me that she was going to get the earring taken out, and once she felt better, her mom would take her to get her earring re-pierced at a different establishment. Despite the hassle she was going through at that point in time, Sarah was pretty proud of her ear piercings, which in turn made me think about getting my own ears pierced. I had run over to my mum to ask about maybe getting my own ears pierced with the money that I had saved up. I got pocket money for helping around the house, and always liked to save it for things that I really wanted, or for my mum's birthday and Christmas presents. Entitled Aunt scoffed and made faces of disgust. As my mum would say, she looked like a dog chewing a wasp, but she didn't vocalize any of her concerns. After about an hour, I was called up to get x-rayed. I said my goodbyes to Sarah and headed to the x-ray room with my mum. I'm gonna skip all the boring stuff. Basically, I got my arm x-rayed, it was definitely broken, and we were taken to a little room. There were about 4 beds in the room, each with a curtain for privacy, where we were to wait for one of the nurses to arrive and sort out a cast for my arm. Entitled Aunty had been allowed to join us at this point as the hospital only allowed one adult to accompany the child to the x-ray room. Never really understood why. She was still pretty pee about my mum getting impatient with her earlier, so obviously she dropped the nice demeanor and pet names and went back to being her typical bitchy self. And not bitchy in a good way. She kept her mouth shut for the most part until the nurse decided to ask the question. The question that would make Entitled Aunty lose her crap. "What color of cast would you like, sweetie?" "He likes the blue. It's the same color as his top." "Is the blue one okay for you?" She asks me this with a look that tells me, you don't have to go with the color that this psycho wants. "I like the purple one." Entitled Aunt just glares at me. "Okay honey, a purple cast it is." "What? You're actually gonna give him a purple cast?" "Well, that's what he wants." "Entitled Aunty, give it a rest, it's a dang color." "So? It's purple. Little boys wear blue, not purple." "It's not you that has to wear it. Stop being a damn drama queen." You're loving this, aren't you? You want him to be gay. You're encouraging this kind of behavior." Mum, looking like she wants to throw hands, "I want my child to be happy. If a purple cast is going to make him happy, then he's getting a purple cast." "Little boys shouldn't be wearing purple. He's getting the blue one. It's almost the same as purple anyway." "But if blue's the same as purple, can't I just have purple?" "Are you a girl?" No, but I like purple." "Opie isn't your kid, and I'm not having you make him feel like crap for liking a certain color." At this point, the nurse is trying to defuse the situation, and I can only look on in shock. They argued for a couple of minutes more until the nurse managed to get a hold of the doctor and another nurse, who quickly asked Entitled Aunty to leave the premises. She did, but not without getting the last word in by shouting, "You're a terrible mother, wanting your son to be a homophobic slur." My mum proceeded to apologize to the doctor and nurses for stooping to Entitled Auntie's level. They told her it wasn't an issue and that Entitled Aunty was out of order with her language. Entitled Aunt had naturally drove off and left us at the hospital for another half hour until Nice Aunt came to pick us up. She had stopped off at KFC, my favorite fast food place as a kid, to get us something to eat and had gotten me a teddy bear at the toy shop in town. It was bright purple. Nice Aunt was quick to post a picture of the 3 of us and the new teddy bear on Facebook, knowing full well that Entitled Aunt would see it, just to peer off a little bit more. Entitled Aunt actually blocked both my mum and Nice Aunt on Facebook after this incident, and we had no contact with her for about 2.5 years. She eventually got in contact with my mum and sent her a massive apology through text, and told her how she just wanted to be a family again. "Biatch, you cut contact with us. All we did was enjoy the peace and quiet." Anyways, turns out she was moving house, and since she has barely any friends or family that actually likes her, she was using us to help her move. Because, paying someone else to help is too expensive when I have a family to help me. Also, if anyone is wondering about why my mum let her back in her life, Entitled Aunty was a pretty religious person, and my mum just believed that was why she was so against the idea of me being gay. Of course, neither of us believe that all religious people are like that, and we have many Christian, Muslim, pagan, etc. friends, and they are all wonderful people. Needless to say, no one else had an issue with my caste. Some of the kids at school playfully teased me about it, but it wasn't malicious, and they were more just excited to sign my caste. Breaking your arm in school apparently makes you pretty popular when you're 10. Anyways, that was a little story about my psycho aunt. Sorry if it's all over the place or not very well written. I'm hyped up on coffee and attempting to type on my laptop with fake nails, XD. I hope y'all are having a fabulous day, my little cherubs. Edit. Wow, okay, so I wrote this in my spare time before going to work. Went to work then home to sleep, and I woke up to this. Thanks for all the comments. I'm also a drag queen, but these have nothing to do with the colours I liked as a kid. Though entitled Aunty seems to think it's my mum's fault that I'm attracted to men. Also, there are a couple of comments asking for a TLDR. I had thought I'd added one, but I guess not, so I'll add it too. Purple, the colour of royalty that multiple kings and queens have worn, and she thinks it's girly? Purple has never been used as a gendered colour before. Not once. It's a regal colour, a colour of affluence and power, symbolically speaking. Honestly, I feel like if I went with anything other than blue or green, she'd still have a tantrum. She's just that kind of person. Can I just say how awesome your mum is for being so forward-thinking? A lot of mums would freak out if their sons asked about ear piercings and liked girly things. I bought my 2-year-old daughter a toy toolbox and a toy dump truck. I also buy her dolls and stuff too, but she's exposed to both kinds of toys. Who am I to tell her what she has to like? Well, my mum always had that attitude. If I'm happy and not hurting anyone, then who cares what toys I liked, or what my favourite colour is? You sound like a great mum. Your daughter is lucky to have you. You said she's religious, so if she's Catholic, Lutheran, or Anglican/Episcopalian, remind her that priests wear purple and pink in Lent and Advent. Also remind her that purple used to be the colour of kings. She was raised a Protestant, but she only goes to the Bible to find excuses to be a bigot, instead of loving everyone as the Bible teaches. But that's a great point. Wish I'd known that stuff at the time, haha. And our next story is by user AngelFire224, titled, Inject My Son with Orange Juice. It's a hospital entitled mum story. TLDR at the end. I'm currently working as a professional mental health nurse. This incident took place back when I was a student nurse and was posted in the pediatric ward. We had a boy in the general ward who had been admitted with a case of viral fever, I think. By the time I started my posting, he had been there for about 3 to 4 days. As soon as he entered the ward, the entitled mother hounded me. She says, "Excuse me, I've been saying the same thing over and over again, but you people just don't listen, do you?" Well, hello ma'am. I'm sorry, what seems to be the problem here? This is my first day here, and I don't really know. Well, then why are you here if you don't know anything? Go back and send someone who's not as stupid as you. Though I highly doubt anyone in this hospital really has a brain. I apologize again, ma'am, but if you could just tell me what's wrong, then I might be able to sort it out. Well, I've been telling your people for the past few days that my son doesn't like apple juice. He likes orange juice, and you should give him that. But nobody's listening to me. He's still getting apple juice, and even that is really bad quality. Okay, it seems that the good folks down in the kitchen have it wrong. Don't worry ma'am, I'll consult with a nutritionist and we'll have this sorted out in no time. Entitled mother just scoffed and marched away. I talked with the nutritionist and asked why the kid was being forced to take apple juice when he didn't like it. But she told me the kid wasn't getting apple juice. In fact, he wasn't getting juice at all. He was getting milk with almost every meal. Now I am confused. I talked to the entitled mother, and she shouted at me how stupid I was like the rest of the staff. Just then, breakfast arrived. Sure enough, the kid had milk and not juice. Ma'am, the nutritionist suggested milk for your kid, and that's what he's getting. He's not getting apple juice. No, you idiot! He gets that with his lunch and not breakfast. Deciding to see what the issue was once and for all, I promised her I'll come back at lunchtime to settle the issue. Lunch arrived, and the kid got You guessed it, milk. I again pointed this out to the entitled mother, and she said the kid gets the apple juice after the lunch. Okay, what? I was really puzzled then. Just then, a nurse arrived to administer the afternoon medications. See, now he'll be getting that nasty apple juice. Just then, the nurse hung a bag of saline by the kid's bedside and injected a vial of MVI, multivitamin infusion, in it, and connected it with the kid's IV line. The MVI injections we had in our hospital were yellow-coloured and smelled like someone just farted 3 days worth of tacos. And that's when I had the epiphany of what had been the entitled mother's issue. And being the considerate creature she was, she confirmed my suspicion with a horrible screech. See, I told you! Apple juice! Nasty smelling apple juice! Me, ... Well, say something! Ma'am, that's not apple juice. It's an injection. Don't you dare lie to me. Everybody else has been saying the same thing, but I know the truth. You people have orange juice. I've seen it. Give my son that. Put orange juice in that bag. All subsequent attempts to explain to her failed. She screamed loudly and disturbed other patients as well. The attending physician heard all the commotion and came to see what the matter was. He also tried to explain that her son was in fact being given an injection, but she refused to believe that we weren't injecting her son with apple juice, and that juice couldn't be given intravenously. Doctor's like, fine, if this is apple juice, then I suppose you wouldn't mind a taste. And with that, the awesome doc disconnected the IV line, poured some of that nasty apple juice in a plastic cup, and shoved it under entitled mother's nose, who promptly gagged. Oh please, have some apple juice, and we'll give your son a different one. You'll like it, I promise. Naturally, entitled mother refused. She never asked for orange juice again, but I heard from other patients that the entitled mother had been blabbering about suing us for injecting her son with some bad quality apple juice and then making a fool of her. And that's the true reason, folks, why Thanos wanted to eradicate us. Maybe we had one too many encounters with unhinged entitled parents. I've dealt with some stupid people while working at a hospital, and I just handle phones. And that is amazing how stupid she is. As stupid as she seemed, believe me, I've met worse. I want one day to see a story where someone says, "Shut up and let us do our work." I really wish we were allowed to say that, or at least flip the bird towards entitled parents. Why are you not allowed to say it? They're interfering with your work, so why not? Hospital policy: always be polite to other patients and family. They're already suffering, blah blah blah. Although, most people are indeed capable of recognizing when we're trying to help them, and we too deserve basic human rights and dignity. But I guess you can't expect too much from entitled parents. And that's the true reason, folks, why Thanos wanted to eradicate us. Maybe he had one too many encounters with unhinged entitled parents. Now that you put that out there, someone who had too much time on their hands will edit a video of Thanos with all the Infinity Stones, snapping his fingers, and all the Karens on Earth will disappear into dust. I can already imagine a mega Karen standing in the middle and shouting, "Karens, assemble, all you boss babes!" God, can you imagine? That'd be epic. Can someone please do that? I want to see it. And our next story was posted by user Paulus, titled, "Fun with an Entitled Parent on 9/11. Bit of background. I worked in a call center dealing with an early incarnation of online grocery shopping in 2000/2001. It's a well-known supermarket in the UK with orange branding, which is slightly more aspirational, but still fairly big, meaning that many of the customers were entitled AF. I worked an evening shift as I was at college in the day, and on September 11th, 2001, I had been at home working on coursework, and along with many millions of others, had seen the horror of what happened that day unfold live on TV. I headed into work at around 5 PM that day. Management had scribbled on the whiteboard, "Site slow today." This was due to the whole world trying to get online to find out what had transpired that day. Anyone who remembers this day will remember how scary and momentous it felt. One of my calls that day was one of the most entitled people that I had ever spoken with. They're like, "Hello? I can't do my online shopping today as your site keeps crashing." "Oh, I'm very sorry. I have been informed that the volume of global traffic today on the web is causing our site to be less responsive due to the terrorist incidents." "I don't care. I want my shopping." Did she actually just say that? "I'm very sorry, madam. There is very little we can do. I've just been told even the BBC website is struggling with the amount of traffic. Did you see what happened today? It's really not my problem. I don't care what's going on. I need my groceries and you need to get them to me. Otherwise, my baby won't get any milk." At this point, I checked the customer's address to see if she lived in a rural or remote community. She lived in central London. Not really sure how I will be able to rationalize with this horrible entitled mum. So I say, "I'm very sorry, but many of our customers are having issues with our site today. We are expecting that internet speeds will return to normal later on tomorrow." She yells, "I want my baby milk. I don't care." "Please do not shout at me. I will terminate the call if you do. If you don't get me my baby's milk, I will have to go to the store." I asked to put the entitled mum on hold, and asked one of our team leaders how I could seek resolution with this nut job. And they told me, "Well, we don't control the speed of people's internet. She will have to try again tomorrow." Shortly before I cut the entitled mother off, I was actually considering whether I needed to pass her details to social services, as she was actually telling me her baby won't get any milk. Absolutely outrageous. You and solely you are responsible for feeding your crotch goblin. I doubly lost hope for the human race that day. I had a store in a suburb of New York City in 2001. We all had friends and family who worked in the city, and some of us had friends who were volunteer firemen in our town that had jumped in their fire trucks and driven to Ground Zero to help. As everything was unfolding, we were listening to the radio as the reporter's voice broke while telling us the first building was going down. We were all frozen in place, just in horror. And this one bear was standing at the register getting all pissy because no one ran over to ring her up. That's just not normal behavior. These people need to be removed from society. Antisocial personality types. Yeah, I'll say. Some people. Was she blind and deaf? Surely the whole world was talking about it. Hell, they were. And was she just so dead to the world that she didn't know? Good job on dealing with that. Many people would have lost their temper. I don't see how anyone would have known what had happened. I was already feeling pretty shaken by that day, as was everyone around me. She's up there with the worst people I've dealt with. You have a pretty low opinion of the great British public doing a job like that. If you lived in Ireland during the 1970s to 90s, you'd have an even lower opinion of the British. Ah ha ha! The Troubles! What a shin slapper that is. My mum is a Dubliner, and she says very similar to you. This reminds me of another idiot who called corporate to complain that an ISP office was not answering their phones. Turns out the ISP office this idiot was complaining about was in the World Trade Center that had collapsed. Idiot kept screaming about how he's still entitled to his internet that has stopped working. Sounds like he's been doing too much chop in the bathroom that day. And our last post. Corona shutdown, parent meltdown. Where I live, we had an immediate school shutdown, which was supposed to be for 2 weeks. 600,000 students have to stay now, and we get this gem. External email warning. This email originated from outside of Black, Open School District. Use caution responding or opening attachments and links. So if we have to work, what are we supposed to do with our kids? Leave them home alone? Black and I both work and are integral to the operation of our companies, which are in turn integral to our livelihood. Neither of us can willy-nilly take time off for a stupid virus blown out of proportion. This is beyond ridiculous. What are we supposed to do? Neither her or her husband are integral to operation. And I'm sure she thought sending an email to the specific school titled, "What the heck?" was going to do anything rather than the school district, city, county, etc. regarding emergency childcare. Don't know what that sentence was going for, but okay. I don't think anyone responded, but I really hope someone got a bit snarky and did. And then 2 days later, the governor announced the shutdown is going to be almost 2 months. We haven't gotten an update email from her yet. I feel a little bad for her kid. Edit to add, for those commenting on it, no, she is not in need / a recipient of any helping hand programs. For families that are in those programs and receive bags of groceries for the weekends and vacations, they will continue receiving them, as well as lunch and breakfast being available for kids, like they would during normal school. But since it has to be to-go bags, the entire menu is almost all cold lunch like sandwiches. Look, I don't know if this is all local school districts, but I'm glad to say ours has a fairly nice outreach when someone needs help. Is this a school district in Canada? Since yesterday, the Education Minister announced that the elementary and high schools will be closed for 2 weeks after March break for coronavirus precautions. A few hours south of the border in WA. I don't recall exact dates, but our don't go out precaution is until the last week of April. Let me guess, Everett or Bothell School District? No, but I just found out Bothell was closed way before we were, ? I mean, I understand if they can't take off because of money, which is a lot of people's concerns here. Yes and no, money isn't a concern for them, but getting immediate time off probably is, just like any other job. With over 500,000 kids home from school, I'm sure they can hire a neighborhood kid to babysit no problem. Wow, well screw them then. Everything shutting down is a serious financial concern for a lot of people right now. Oh my god, tell me about it. My full time is a crap show between being unable to keep things stocked because distribution is out, and people calling out from a mix of fear and those who are actually sick. I hope that the fact, before saying school was closed for 2 months, they banned meetings of more than 250 people, that they're thinking of some sort of subsidy. Otherwise, no one in the working class, not even including those working in restaurants that were closed, are going to be able to pay their bills. Well heck, what did you guys think of this episode today? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed it, leave me a like and subscribe, guys. That's all I have for you today. I hope you have a good night, day, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Love you. Bye.